Your first lesson of the year bases off of order of operations. Main thing we need to remember is that it is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. The reason we're doing this to start Algebra 2 is to make sure that we deal with this appropriately, and that is because, to me, the way I teach my order of operations, and if you need this information, please let me know. I do have videos online that can explain it to you better, because you don't want to make this mistake. Addition and subtraction are like students in a lunch line. Multiplication and division are like teachers in a lunch line. The exponent is like the guidance, and the parentheses is like the principal. What that means is, if two students are in the lunch line and both of you are pretty much you wouldn't feed one person before the other. You would feed them depending on who was in line first. And so you want to remember that anytime it's just addition and subtraction, that you do it based on who's in line first. I'll discuss that in a second. Same thing for multiplication division, that you do it based off of who's in line first. One teacher cannot jump in front of another. Again, if you want a better explanation, email me that, and email me, and I will be glad to show you the video that explains it in much better detail in my Algebra 1 class. But again, the key thing that people mess up with is that you can actually do this two ways, one of them being wrong. If you follow this A to S first, that means that you're going to 4 plus first, which in your idea would be 6 minus 7, which is -1. That is wrong, because this is addition and subtraction, which means that these two are actually equal, which means in that case the person in line first is a subtraction. So you work it front to back, do your 6 minus 4, which is 2 plus 3, then your 2 plus 3, which is 5. Alright. Same thing over here. This is division and multiplication. Well, again, division and multiplication are like teachers, which means some of you again would think, well, that's a parentheses, which is not, but you would think that's a parentheses, so I keep the 8 divided by, I turn this into 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Again, that is wrong, because since these are both on the same level as multiplication and division are like cousins, what you want to do is the one in front, 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. I think I see that on Facebook. I know I'm dating myself because now I'm sure Facebook is, so late in the world. But anyway, there's always these things on Facebook where it says, what is the answer? And everybody argues over what the answer is because no teacher ever taught them the right way, which is, again, if it's two operations of the same level, you work it in order. Two operations of the same level, you work them in order. And what I want you to think about this before I move forward, I'm not trying to waste your time, but I want to be clear, is that when you learned addition, think back when you learned addition, and the very next thing you learned was subtraction. And so these two are the same thing, they're just opposite operations. Alright, same thing. When you learned multiplication in your flashcards, the very next thing you learned was division, because these two operations are pretty much the same, they are just opposite. Alright, so again, these two are equal, which means that you do those in that order. These two are equal, which means you do them also in order whenever they're in line. So again, order of operations is necessary for evaluating expressions with variables. You will have to substitute and perform the order of operations on your own. I know it says this here, but again, please be sure to listen to my advice here. It says there's no calculator allowed on Chapter 1 tests. Obviously, we're online, but it should be your goal, because what I am going to do on your test is make sure you have to show your work on a lot of things. And so the reason we do this for 136 is because since you are going to be moving into a much higher level of math at some point, make sure that you approach it with the idea that you're going to be expected to show where you expect where you came from. Please be sure you're not bad habits just because we're at home and just because you can take shortcuts. Again, a lot of my homework will not allow that because I program my own questions, and so that is what we are looking at. Looks like I'm not on the microphone, so that's stupid on my part. Evaluating here is first off, and even on the computer you're going to have to do this, make sure you use parentheses to substitute. So every time you see a variable, use a parentheses, put the number in, and substitute first. Again, on your work, I think you're going to have to show that first. Then again, parentheses, there are no parentheses because it's parentheses there, but parentheses means that there's actual work to do inside, but there's nothing there, which means that the parentheses part is done. Exponents I have, so negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, or 25. Then what you can do now, and I'll tell you this at the end, is all multiplication division that is not attached to something. So when you look at this, 3 times 25 turns into 75, and I suggest you copy this example because it is just like what you're going to be doing in your homework, and that way you can practice the homework, or you can practice the process while you do it at the same time. Here though, be careful, because remember this is negative 4 times negative 5, which is actually a positive 20 plus 2. And then you'll do all of your addition subtraction in order. Again, I wouldn't do it all together, so 75 plus 20 is 95 plus 2, which is 97 as your final answer there. On your second example, again, copy all these examples, make sure you have them on your paper so that you can actually get what you need for your homework. Negative, and then an x, so negative parentheses negative 3 squared, minus 3 parentheses negative 3, because that's an x, minus 8, substituting first. Again, there is no parentheses, and so we don't do that. Move on to exponents. Even if you have to do this every single time, it's just safer to do it. Exponents, we have one here. Negative 3 squared is 9. Copy everything else. Any multiplication or division that is not attached. And again, let me explain what I mean by that. I mean like this. These are attached to each other, so I wouldn't do it, but whenever you have 6 divided by 2 plus 7 times 2, notice how this division and this multiplication are not attached because there's a weaker sign in between. So anytime you have that, that's when you can, at the level you are now, you can actually jump and say, well, there's a connector between them. And so this is actually a multiplication because that's like a negative 1 times 9, so that's actually negative 9. This is negative 3 times negative 3, which is, because again it's attached by a negative or a minus, that is a positive 9, and then bring down your minus 8, and again from there you do your addition subtraction in order. Negative 9 plus 9, which is 0 minus 8, and 0 minus 8 obviously is negative 8. Alright. And then the last example for you on this today looks like this. Substituting first for parentheses, and here's what I will tell you now. If you are substituting a variable inside of a parentheses, I recommend that you do not use parentheses, because otherwise you end up with something like this, which gets really confusing. So as long as it's not too bad, as long as it's something you can contain, I would recommend not using parentheses unless you have to, or unless there's just a lot going on. But in this case, I would just put 3 minus 4 because it's already inside of parentheses, and then 3 plus 3, and then 5 parentheses 3 plus 2. And once again, in this problem, you could work it out in the order that you know. Are there parentheses to be worked out? Yes, there are. It's this one and that one. And so you will turn this into 4, negative 1, minus 4, 6, over, and again there's nothing there, so leave this here because I am only working out parentheses first, and I believe on the computer that's what it's pretty much going to ask you to do. So I'm working out all my parentheses first, leave everything else alone. Do not get in a rush. Again, this is part of your training there. Are there any exponents? No. Is there any multiplication or division that's not attached? Yes, you have one here that turns into a negative 4. This becomes, again, that's a minus attaching them, so negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. 5 times 3 makes 15 plus 2. Then do addition and subtraction that you can. Negative 4 minus 4 is negative 28. 15 plus 2, which is not attached, is also there, is 17. And I don't believe you can do anything with 28 and 17. That would be the answer you type in. Now, again, what you'll notice here is that in this class I'm going to give you some examples. I suggest that you copy those examples because they're typically your test questions and your quiz questions and the questions you're going to see on homework. As long as you do that, you should have something to help you. Be sure that on homework you do the question first, take a screenshot and send me what you did, or if it's not on the computer, that you send me a picture of your original problem, and you send me a picture of the work on your paper. Again, if I do not see the work and I do not see the problem done, I cannot assist you. So you must do your best to answer the question first before you ask me for any assistance. But the keys to upper level order of operations work, which I already told you, is that you can perform all the parentheses steps at once. And again, not all of them is in like 5 steps inside of parentheses, but if there's one step here, one step there, you can do that like I did there. You can again perform all your exponent steps at once. Do your multiplication, even though you can do them at the same time, do them based off of who's first, and make sure you do your addition subtraction based on who's first. Other than that, your Math Excel is waiting on you. I'm not sure if I have the other assignments up today, but I know that chapter 1 section 1 should be up. So again, get started on that, ask your questions, and let's stay on pace. Good luck.